Yo, what's going on? It's Charlie McCormack here. Before you watch this video, I want you to know that the video you're about to watch was taken from one of the sections of my full free webinar course for info and coaches in 2025, where we talked about offer and messaging, we talked about systems, tech, and automations, we talked about using AI, we talked about writing the script, and we talked about the webinar follow-up process. Now, if you want to watch this video specifically, because that's all you need to do your webinar campaigns, that's fine. But if you are an info product owner or a coach and you want to watch the entire free training, it's on YouTube. I will link it in the top link in the description. And without further ado, I won't take up any more of your time and I will let you watch the video that you've selected right now.
Now we're going to go on to actually building the systems, the automation, and the technology for this webinar campaign. So if you have never done a webinar before, your first webinar funnel, like when building it, is very front loaded. So a lot of the material, a lot of the assets that need building for this first campaign, as well as the automations you need to build that go with the funnel, it's very front loaded. So it's a lot of stuff to build. It's like building out your whole back end system again, but obviously for a different funnel. But on the upside, once it's built once, you only need to like maintain them and iterate on them with the feedback that you get from the other campaigns. Yeah, from the first run, which also gives you massive leverage because you get to build it once and you get to use it again and again and again. Now, I always lean on the side of like being hyper specific on the marketing message and that is the most important lift when it comes to these campaigns, because marketing tech is just an extension of marketing itself, but it is absolutely imperative to use the right tech, the right systems, the right automations for the live webinar campaigns for the following reasons. This is so you can double down on what works for next time, which is like basically only possible with data, like, or else you're just guessing. You get to maximize the campaign revenue by automating prospect behavior. You get to make sure there is absolutely no reason why someone could not attend the webinar event by making sure all the tech is fucking tight and everything is sorted. And you also make sure that the right people get the right material depending on how they behave in the webinar, on the webinar, before the webinar, or after the webinar. So AKA, you will make more money if you do these things and you get the tech and automations right, which is exactly what I'm about to show you how to do. So if this is your first campaign, or for example, if you've just done a really basic one before, here's a really simple chart that displays what you need to build in order to do one of these campaigns. So you're going to need a landing page, you're going to need a confirmation page, you're going to need emails and text messages in a sequence that go out to existing people on your email list or in your CRM. You're then going to need emails and text messages automated as well for people who register for the event. You're going to need to create the event in Webinar Jam or Zoom, and we'll get onto that later. You're going to need a WhatsApp community, a Telegram or a Facebook community, market dependent, and you're going to need a webinar CRM, all of which I'm going to show you exactly how to do. So this is a system that I recommend, and this is just what I do for my clients. I will build the system before we launch the webinar, because if it isn't set up properly, you're going to lose track of leads as they come in, and therefore if you don't know who's come from where, you're going to make less money. So let's talk tech stack. This is the tech stack that we personally use when we do webinars for clients. Obviously, like, this might differ, you might use ClickFunnels or whatever, but this is just what we use for our webinars with clients. So the first thing that we will use is Go High Level. Now, most of our clients use GHL anyway to run their businesses. If you haven't heard of GHL, you might have heard of HubSpot or ClickFunnels. I fucking hope you've heard of one of them, or else you probably should not be watching this video, but any of them will do. This video is just going to be tailored towards using GHL. You can obviously just set up the automations similarly in different platforms. And we use GHL because it's all in one. It allows us to just keep things simple. Like, we can build 80%, like if not 90% of what we need just on GHL without having to use a bunch of different tools. So we use GHL to build the landing page, the confirmation page, the CRM. We do all the automations and the workflows in there. We also do the emails and the SMSs in there as well. And they also integrate nicely together with the different softwares that we do use. To host the actual webinars themselves, we use Webinar Jam. Now, for B2C webinars, especially in the info and coaching space, Webinar Jam is just like, it's the industry standard. It's the gold standard. It's what most people use, and it's probably because it's really easy to embed the register form onto GHL. You can moderate the chat, which is exceptionally important in B2C webinars. It integrates with Zapier via GHL. It's easy to make your offers on. You can track who left before you started pitching. You can track who watched the pitch. You can track the average drop-off point, so you can iterate going on. And it's also crucial for follow-up campaigns. Now, for B2B, or like a more sophisticated B2C market, just use Zoom. Like, Zoom's better. It's just with most of our clients are selling something like to a consumer like BizOp or just we're selling to consumers. So we just use Webinar Jam. Now, how do we integrate all of these things together? Well, it's obviously with Zapier, Make, or Integrately. I just use Zapier because Zapier, in my opinion, is the best and the easiest to use. For obvious reasons, we need to link all the different things that we do together to make sure no data is lost, and it makes it easy for our clients' sales teams to follow up with the leads. Now, it doesn't really matter which of these that you use, as long as you can fucking link GHL or ClickFunnels or whatever to Webinar Jam and then eventually Typeform, then so we can track the behavior for the marketing, then it doesn't really matter what you use, and it can automatically update our CRM so we don't have to do it manually and then risk like the human error side of it. So the fourth thing that we use is Typeform, and if you don't pay attention to anything in this, this is really important because this isn't to do with the tool, this is to do with the theory behind why we do it. So when you make your offer on a webinar, you're going to have two types of people. You're going to have people who are just ready to buy there and then. And you're also going to have people that need to speak to you first. But where loads of people fuck up on their webinars, and this is one of the biggest needle movers that we found in when we pitch and when we close and like the conversion rates on our webinars, is what most people do is they mess up and they let anybody book a call after the webinar. Like, think about that. They let anybody book a call. They just put the calendar in there. And although like you don't get many tire kickers or time wasters or whatever, because it's mitigated because we tell them the price and everything and because of how good webinars are, we don't want people to book up slots, especially for the next day or the day after, if they are like hyper qualified, ready to buy leads. So instead of letting people book straight onto the calendar and just sending like a Calendly link in there, we make sure that they hit a type form first that asks qualifying questions. So an example for this is one that we did back in December, but I can even give you the figures for the one that we did last night as well, just to really hone this point through, is we had 380 people on the call. 150 of them went through the type form and tried to book, but only 28 of them were qualified and self-booked, and then the other 122 were followed up ASAP. And the numbers from the one that we did last night was we had 330 applications through the type form, only 50 of them qualified on money and just like they actually put the right information on the form and self-booked. So imagine you have 300 people. If you were just going to let those people book the calls, you're going to need loads of closers. Your calendar's going to be booked for ages. You then have to go through and set all of those people, get them off the calendar if they're not qualified. It's just a fucking nightmare. Just put them through a type form, and then only the qualified people can book the most important calls, which is like the day after the webinar, and then the day after that as well, because they're hot, they want to pay. Don't let people who aren't qualified take up those most important spots. So like I said here, that's 122 calls that would have been booked with people who weren't immediately qualified, which would take up the spaces on the calendar for the people who are actually going to pay. Now, quick side note, you should attempt to keep your closers' calendars and their availability as clear as possible in the days following the webinar campaign. So for us, that is like today and tomorrow, because we want to make sure that the warmest leads, the most qualified leads, can book in literally as soon as possible after watching the webinar. If we didn't do the webinars in the evening, I would want people on the phone within an hour because they are so hot and so ready to pay. Now, what is your CRM actually going to look like? So I'm going to show you the way that we construct the CRMs for the webinars that we do and kind of the theory behind them. So as you can see here, here's an example of a CRM that we used for a webinar that we did recently in March. And here it was, so pipeline stages 1 to 4. So people who sign up, people who left before the pitch, people who stayed after the pitch, and then people who applied. That allows us to target people effectively in the post-webinar marketing, because we can target the people who applied, the people who booked the call, the people who stayed after the pitch, because we know that they are the warmest people, so we want to follow them up first. So for example here, if they didn't show up or they left before the pitch, we'll offer them the replay. If they applied but they didn't qualify, we'll follow up with them first. Or if they self-booked, we'll triage and qualify, which is the absolute first port of call. So the webinar that we did last night, the appointment setter today will go to every single person who self-booked and get them off the calendar if they're not qualified, go to the applications for anyone who couldn't book, and then book them in instead. And then pipeline stages 5 to 12, it's just normal sales process resume. So I assume that you will reach out to people. I assume you will have something for no-show. I assume you'll have something for cancelled or rescheduled. I assume you'll have something for call taken. I assume you'll have something for deposit. And I assume you'll have something for purchase when someone actually closes. Now, in order to create your Webinar Jam account, you need to go to Webinar Jam and create your account. Now, create your account based on how many people you think you're actually going to get to sign up. So, for example, if you think you're only going to get less than 500 people, get the basic. If you think you're going to get more than that, the next one up is 2,000. So you're probably going to want that one, because the last thing that you want to happen is for loads of people to try and join and it says that the room is full. So make sure that you get the right package, create your event over here, press add event, find your links and embed the form into the website. Copy that code into your Go High Level website or your ClickFunnels or whatever you're using to build your landing pages. So then when people sign up, they get sent onto the Webinar Jam, and then we use Zapier to then send them to your CRM. How to build a landing page for a webinar. Now, it's important to note your landing page for webinars, they really, really, really should not be confusing. It should tell them exactly what they are signing up for, what they are going to learn if they sign up, and it should make it very, very, very clear that you are hosting a live event, a webinar, and that this is not a VSL. People need to know that it's a webinar and that it's going to be live. So how do we indicate to people that it's going to be live? Well, as you can see here, we have Skill to Profit free live event. We have the timer, the countdown until there, free live training because it's live, secure your seat for the free event. And here are some other things that we also include. So we've got the timer, the logo, a headline, a mini VSL, which is just 2 to 3 minutes long, sub headline. I like to write a little short sales letter there. As you can see here, here's another example of a headline that we've got. Add your testimonials in there, just as many as you can. And then on Webinar Jam, I've already showed you how to embed that into the website. Now, webinar landing pages do not need to be complicated, because the landing page on a webinar is simply selling them the idea of registering for the free class. The idea of getting them to actually show up and turn up to the class is done on the confirmation page and in the pre-webinar marketing, the difference between when they decide they've registered for it and the webinar itself. Don't worry about trying to sell them on turning up, just sell them on the idea of coming to learn. That is the most important thing that your webinar landing page should do. Like I said, at this stage, we've convinced them to sign up for the webinar. This does not mean by any means necessary, but they are actually going to attend the event. So the purpose of the confirmation page is to convince them to show up to the webinar, as well as getting them to join the WhatsApp community to lower the money that we spend on SMS. Here is what we include in our webinar confirmation pages. So a little headline there. Congratulations, you've signed up. You're not an idiot. You managed to sign up. A little confirmation video. Now, the point of the confirmation video is to sell them on the opportunity, sell them on actually turning up to the webinar, tell them where it is, tell them why they should turn up, and also give them the call to action to join whatever community page you think is most suitable for your market. So for example, with us, in a B2C market, WhatsApp is probably going to be the best there. Or if you're a trader, or you're like an OFM guy, like we don't work with traders or OFM guys, but if we were, I would set them up a Telegram chat because that's where most people go. Or if I would set up a more sophisticated market, I would send them to like a Facebook page or something. You need to give people the link to the webinar and also some housekeeping rules. So for example, we tell people like, watch the video above before you click on this page, watch it on a desktop or a laptop so you're not fucking scrolling. Obviously, we don't actually say that, but that's why we tell them to. Tell them to set aside 2 hours on their calendar, add the class to calendar, and then also make sure that you've joined the WhatsApp community for the event. Now, if you do choose to use a WhatsApp group, a WhatsApp community, do it as a community, not a group. Otherwise, people will be able to send messages into the chat. This is not good. You do not want people to be able to send messages into your webinar group chat, especially if you are in a B2C market. Now, link this GHL button as a link to join the group, and then this link will also be used in the emails too, and then we will do all the nurturing. We'll give them the lead magnets or whatever, all in the WhatsApp group, rather than sending them like, oh, here's this lead magnet, here's this thing that you should do. We just get them all in one place, and then we do whatever nurturing we need to do in the WhatsApp group. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we build the email and the SMS sequences for this campaign. Now, for the webinar campaigns that we do for clients, I will typically use 2 email and SMS sequences that I will personally write for them. So the first sequence will be to their existing contacts, either on their email list or in their CRM. And we will use this sequence to promote the campaign, to re-engage leads who haven't bought before or potentially bought the lower ticket products if we're doing a high ticket webinar. And what we'll do is we'll get them to sign up, which we get a high take up rate from the existing contacts, because it's really low ask as opposed to like sending them an email and saying, hey, book a call, when they know like they've either been on a call before and they didn't close and they don't want to get on a call again, or it's just a really low ask. We're just asking them to essentially come and learn rather than come in and getting pitched. So that's the first sequence that we will send. The second sequence that we will send will be to people once they actually register for the webinar. So the point of this sequence is to get them to actually attend the webinar, to remind them of the webinar, and to also give them any lead magnets that you promised them that they were going to get when they sign up. Now, as you can see here, we have the two sequences here, going out to existing people and then going out to those who register. You'll need an email to announce the webinar to the people who are like already on the email list, and you'll need an email written for the confirmation email when people first sign up, because it's important for them to know that they actually did get their spot secured. And then what we will do is we will send an email every other day until the day before. So for example, you were to do a 10-day promo, you would do one on the day you announce, you would do one on like the 8th day, the 6th day. You know how to count. I don't need to fucking teach you. And then 24 hours before, we'll then do one 24 hours before. We'll then do one early on in the day, so like 12 to 7 hours before. We'll then do one midday, 3 to 1 hour before. And then we'll just send everyone the link 5 minutes before. This is just so if people don't sign up, but they do just make the decision they want to jump in, they can just jump in like that. Now, in order to launch this campaign as soon as possible, what we will do is we will just write the announcement email and the confirmation email, and then we will write the rest of the emails during the promo period. I don't like writing all the emails while we're waiting to launch. I like doing it like this. So we launch with the announcement and the confirmation email, and then we write the emails, we make content, and we build the presentation while we are promoting the webinar, rather than like, imagine you were to build the funnel, do all the tech, write all the emails, make the VSL, pre-make all the content, write the script, then make the presentation, and then launch, and then just do nothing for 10 days. Like, it doesn't really make sense. You might as well launch and then like do it as you go along in the promo period. So yeah, send them according to the cadence that you see above, with the SMSs upon sign up, 24 hours before and 5 minutes before. Yeah, we're not sending them an SMS like every other day, by the way. I hope you got that. And then what we will do is also, the reason that we get people in these group chats like Telegram, WhatsApp, Facebook, is because we can then give them cheaper and more frequent reminders, because obviously WhatsApp is free. Like, you can send as many messages as you want on it. And with an SMS, like if you're getting some of the campaigns that we do for people, when we're sending like 1,000 people or more text messages, it does get quite expensive, as you can imagine. And that's obviously money that we could put into ads, or money that's going to come off the revenue of it. So if you want us to personally implement the exact system that we've just shown you and more, and do this fully done for you, there's a few options. You have our number one option, which is our flagship fully done for you webinar build, where we build everything for you. Literally everything you saw in this video, we do completely done for you. All you need to do is film the stuff we need you to film and turn up to the webinar. So we need to do the VSL, the reels, put out content, whatever, that we will write for you. You can use this system again and again and again and again, usually every 30 to 45 days, and we will handle everything every single time, and we will iterate and improve on every single webinar for you. Most of our clients stay with us for upwards of like 4 or 5 webinars and counting, because they're just going to keep working with us because we make so much money doing this for them, which is why that people usually opt in to do our fully done for you service. Or if you want a custom offer and you don't need everything, or you just want parts of it, you want us to build the funnel, the systems, write the script, do the presentation, consult with you, whatever it is, you can book a call with me for a custom offer. I will leave the link in the description. And if you're not ready yet and you just want to see more of what we do, you can join our newsletter, subscribe to our channel, and you can see more of what we do through these YouTube videos or on our newsletter, where I also turn this into written format and give you even more source, and also tell you exactly the results that we're getting from our campaigns. So that was the free webinar course. I hope you enjoyed it. Go and either opt into the newsletter, get in touch with us for a custom offer, or if you want us to implement all of this with a guarantee of 30 to 50K being added in 90 days, go ahead, book a call, work with us for our full done for you offer, subscribe to the channel. I love you all. Bye-bye. Woo!